So today we're going to take a look at FPX versus Xerxia on Haven, and right now the Valorant competitive scene is just at an amazing level where all of the different regions feel very, very close in terms of, how good they actually are, and they might bring their different styles or whatnot, but it seems like just every game pretty much, outside of maybe one, has been really, really close so far in Copenhagen. It's been an absolute joy to watch these different regions, with these different styles coming together and playing very different Valorant, but the level of it being very, very close. And this game, FPX versus Xerxia, was no different. And let's take a look at it. And we'll start with round number 6, which kind of shows that very back and forth this round is, and it kind of shows how this whole series was really between these two teams. So first thing we need to know with this round is that Surf here on the Jet has his Blade Storm, and well, he's very good with the Blade Storm. Also, we need to talk about FPX's defensive setup, because what they're going to do is they're going to throw a Fade Horn out here. They're going to throw the KO knife in here as well. So Artis is alone here, as you can see, with an operator, so he's going to have information on who's going to be here and how many people are going to be here, but other than that, there isn't really anything stopping them from coming to him pretty fast, and that is exactly what we're about to see. So as we run this forward, you'll see we have the Fade Haunt line up here, you see the dart come in, we get a Breach Stun out there, and that pushes Artis into this corner here, as you can see. And so now what's going to happen, and I actually kind of called that this might happen in the round prior to this happening, is I just kind of envisioned that Surf would updraft here and be able to pick off Artis in this kind of position if he was left on his own, which he was, and that is exactly what happens right there. As you see, Surf updrafts, yeah, he managed to get Artis there, and we end up in this 5v4. And now Xerxia actually paused, which is a bit of a change for them. They were playing pretty quick. Obviously, they are an APAC team, so they tend to play pretty quick. And actually, FPX rotate 2 people over. Now, Angel in a 4v5, right? He's thinking, well, we need to, do something to even up the numbers. So he's just going to actually walk down A main and see if he can, see if they're there for one, right? And then see if he can maybe get a kill if they are. And that's exactly what happens as he picks off Surf. He then goes looking for another and actually showers with him now, but Cruz trades it out. And a nice peek there tells him that there are more people there. But then we get a really nice Seize nade combo here from Zipan and Xiao. And then that actually brings Cruz to 1 HP. And then he just dies to the Raze ult, as you can see. And they send out the Fatal at the same time. So we end up in a 3v3, very weird back and forth round, right? And we'll see where it goes from here. So Xerxia, again, they kind of just pause, right? Like, the longer that they pause here, obviously in a 3v3, the more FPX are going to be wondering where they might be, right? So the longer they stay silent, they're creating like big question marks that they could be anywhere, right? They could be going right to C, they could be coming on to B. As you can see, it's wide open, FPX. But actually, they decide to just stay A, not knowing really is what behind them. And Sushi Boys, they try and just contact walk in, perhaps not expecting them to be there. We get trades back and forth, and we end up with Scary in a 1v2, 15 seconds left. But if you watch my video about Xerxia, you'll know that Scary is just very good in these situations and is not to be messed with. And he will prove that right here, because he instantly kills Zipan, who had a bit of a choice there, right? Like, the time is low. He's thinking, maybe if I can just delay, we could win without, without even me dying or him dying potentially. And we see that Scary does actually go and win the round. But yeah, interesting choice from Zipan. He kind of had the choice. Does he want to stay or does he want to go back? I'm not necessarily sure which is the right choice, because you can win the round kind of doing either. So I don't think it's necessarily a mistake, but obviously Scary in those situations is very scary. And now let's come to round number 11, where straight away we will see some of the back and forth nature of a pro game going on straight away, because we're going to get the same Breach Stun down here from Cruz, from Xerxia, but this time Artis is going to play around it, and he's going to get the advantage in this round. So you see the Breach Stun is going to come out. Artis just waits though, right? This time he doesn't get hit by it. He waits, then he peeks out, and he manages to find Surf right there, and gets the first kill. We end up in a 4v5. Now at this point, again, Xerxia, they have this A control. They've managed to get pretty far down short, right? Again, they just kind of hold in these areas. You can see them just over here. But at this point, I was thinking they have both a Killjoy lockdown and a Breach ult. In my estimation, one thing that Xerxia perhaps didn't quite do as well as they could have is realize that the Killjoy lockdown was going to find a lot more value than it normally does. because often on Haven, what you'll have is a breach on the other side, right? And so the Killjoy Lockdown just gets destroyed by the breach aftershock almost every single time. But FPX don't run a breach on Haven, and so that means that this Killjoy Lockdown actually is going to be very hard to destroy. And this time they've lost their duelist, right? So they have a choice: do they want to use Killjoy Lockdown to try and get into the site, or do they want to use Breach Ult to get into site? And they're going to choose Breach Ult, but I can't help but think it is the wrong choice, because obviously with a Breach Ult, what you kind of want really is, you know, Breach Ult to come in and then the dash in, so you can quickly punish those players who are stunned, right? But you don't have a duelist to do that because Surf is dead. Whereas a Killjoy Lockdown, you can just put it down and then just wait for everyone to get off the site, and you'll have the site. And then maybe you could even use the Breach Ult as a post-plant mechanism as well, if they wanted to. So I think that they did make a mistake here, where I personally would have preferred them to, you know, use this kind of dog, send this guy towards short, use the dog on short, get control of that. You see, in comes the Breach Ult, in comes the Fatal in response, actually, from Xiao, which means that these players can't hear as they're entering. And I do think that, again, the Killjoy Lockdown would have probably been a better tool to use in this scenario, in this crucial round, because as you see, as they're hit by the Fatal, they don't know where the shots are coming from. They end up kind of getting mopped up by FPX there, and FPX managed to win the round. And now let's come to round number 13. So now Xerxia are on the defense and FPX are on the attack, and Xerxia are going to pull together a really, really nice pistol round here, as you will see. So they're going to go for some mid aggression. You can see all 5 players are towards mid. You got 2 towards garage, 3 walking down B as well. They actually do get spotted by that KO knife, but Surf is able to get pretty far up, as you can see, and Cruz comes and joins him as well, and they just hold this, right? Expecting the FPX might play a bit slow. Obviously, Xerxia forged in the fires of APAC, you know, like to play pretty aggressive, and they had been doing that so far, right? And so what's going to happen is Cruz is going to come and join Surf, and then eventually Angel is just going to walk out and obviously not expect that people would be here, and they start to try and maybe push for the second, but then they decide, okay, no, we got our kill, let's just get out, right? We're in a 5v4 now, we feel pretty comfortable about what we're doing, we can win a 5v4 from here on out. So then FPX, obviously knowing now that they've pushed mid and they've been aggressive there, start to come towards A, but very quickly Xerxia are onto it, and so they get in positions to retake the site pretty quick, and that is what they're going to do. And I think FPX are going to get caught off guard here by how quick this retake comes in, right? Because you're going to see that some of the FPX players are caught off guard, but everyone's here. Xerxia read it pretty well, right? So as soon as the spike goes down, which is right now, they decide, okay, 1 second, let's go, right? Breach stun comes in, flash comes in, out they come, right? And you're going to see that these FPX players aren't really in great positions, right? Cider is still all the way back here. This Chamber is still just managing to run up to try and actually catch up with the rest of the team as well. And you know, basically Xiao and Zipan here are kind of isolated on their own and are about to be destroyed, to be honest. You'll see that Xiao is kind of on his own. He has to fight 2 people. You see Surf dashes across here as well. You get the smoke. Zipan dies as well, right? They were all just kind of not with each other because they didn't have time to either retreat or get into great positions. We end up in this 5v1. Cider tries to spam the spike, but it's not enough. And Xerxia with a really, really solid pistol round there. The very fast retake I thought was a very good choice by them. Caught FPX off guard, I think. Yeah, very well played by Xerxia. And now let's come to round 19. And I'm sure some of you have seen the clip from this round, but you're about to see one of the craziest little ratty plays you probably have ever seen. One thing you have to note here is this star placement. Seems a bit weird, right? Well, let's see what happens with it. Because, yeah, Scary, I've talked about him being a bit of a rat, and he is, right? The first thing you actually have to note, though, in this round is what's about to happen is actually Foxy with a Sheriff is about to 1-4-5 Artist, and then he TPs away. That actually will be pretty important for what's about to happen. But you've got Scary here, right? Boombot comes in. They're going to come in towards Garage, right? They have 3 people here. They're going to send a Boombot, a Fade Horn, and a Flash all in there, and none of it is going to spot him because he is tucked in this little pocket. Look at this. Look at this. Look at the level of prep that this is, of knowing where to put this star and just being in here, right? So it avoids the Fade Hunt. The Boombot doesn't see him. They think it's absolutely clear. They send in KO Nade. They're about to send in a Flash as well, just there. They come in. They think everything's fine. And away they go, right? They're thinking, oh, right, this is all great, right? We've got garage control. They've actually seen Sushi Boys here. They've flashed him as well, and he's down here, so he's in a lot of trouble as well. But look at this. Look at this. And he actually only gets 1 kill here, but he does a lot of damage to Angel as well, which will matter. And obviously, the focus all turns to him, which delays them. They also drop the spike. So that allows the rotates of the other players. You can see that they're already pretty close, and that's going to be important as well. Whilst that's gone on, actually, as well, as I mentioned before, Artist got 145, and that means that Sushi Boys, even with just a classic, has just hit him from long C and managed to actually get that kill as well. So we've ended up in this position where, you know, it's pretty dangerous. And so even though Scary does die there, we end up in this position. You see Angel's very low health indeed. You know, they start running to Sushi Boys, but in comes the cavalry here from Xerxia instead, and you know, they've just come through on Garage and you know, are much quicker than I think FPX are expecting as well. We see the classic just being insane, and they mop it up very quickly indeed and win a thrifty, and that's probably one of the rattiest things I've ever seen, and I loved it. But now let's come to round 20, and at this point it's 10-10. Xerxia have guns and FPX do not. It was very close, but Xerxia in this round are going to, well, live by the APAC, die by the APAC. Because they're going to, you know, play pretty aggressively again, and it will cost them in this round, as you will see. Because what's going to happen is FPX are actually going to put a smoke down there. And actually, Xerxia are going to get a bit unlucky with where this alarm bot is actually placed, because it's just like outside the smoke. So as they walk up to this smoke very slowly, they get to see where that alarm bot is. The placement of it is like just wrong with where the smoke is. You can see them looking at it, but they have Foxy pushed up in this kind of aggressive behind the box position where it's not easy for him to get out, right? So even though they do dog out and manage to get the first kill, the Sushi Boy swings here. It's a nice little setup overall. The problem is against like a save, you know, it is maybe a little over aggressive, I would say. And so Angel is actually able to get this KO nade just before he dies. And that means that Foxy has to come back here and swing, and he will die as well there to Xiao. So we end up in this 4v4. And then Scary has gone pushing here, and Artist finds the timing on him, turns around and finds that kill as well. And then you've got this situation going on as well, where Sushi Boys are going to try and make a play. But actually, Sushi Boys does manage to get that kill. He somehow manages to flick just at the right moment to Zipan, who misses his first shot. And we end up in this 3v3. Now, once we're in this 3v3, it kind of turns into a bit of a chaotic round where, you know, neither team knows where each other are. So, you know, FPX are just going to slowly clear all these angles right now, right? And eventually they are going to plant on B. But you can see, like, Sushi Boys is holding for like a link because, you know, they all have absolutely no idea where anyone is, both teams. So, you know, it's kind of a bit of a weird round in that sense. But eventually they do just plant on B, right? They get the spike down on B, and now we end up in a 3v3 retake where we have the Killjoy lockdown and the Breach ultimate as well. And they will use the Killjoy lockdown, right? So what's going to happen is Xerxia go and use a bit of an interesting Killjoy lockdown. Actually, I'm not actually sure that it's the best one. Again, I feel like they underutilized the Killjoy lockdown. Again, because there was no breach, it would have been harder for them to destroy. And I think Cruz makes a mistake there by peeking out, because especially if the information has come across that the smoke is on this side, normally what you might see in this kind of like, you know, weird scenario where we're kind of like late into a round where if one side is smoked, it means that they're probably watching the other side. So him just kind of, you know, open peeking that, when he did have utility to potentially use, you know, he could have used a flash to come around it or something like that. Perhaps was a bit of an overpeak. They end up in this 3v2. And Xiao actually goes aggressive there. Obviously, the others fall back. Surf just misses the knives there. We end up in this 2v1. But Cider managed to get the kill. Actually, if somehow Sushi Boy had managed to kill Cider, I don't know how he really would have managed that. But actually would have won the round because Xiao was detained. And now we come to round 23, the final round in the game, and this one is a crazy round as well. We'll start off with this A main control from Xerxia, right? So they send the breach stun out, as you can see. We got Surf holding back here with an AWP that you can just see. You got the Astra Suck in there as well, and Foxy running up there and up to like the top of a lobby. And that's he's right here with the Skydog, and he sees the Skydog, and that allows Surf to push up with the AWP, and means that, you know, basically they can just leave him there on A. He's now just watching all of A lobby. He has a lot of deep control, so that means that everyone else can pretty much leave, as you can see here. Now, what we saw also was FPX getting the ult up for Xiao so that they could get the Fatal in there. So what they're going to do is, knowing that this is potentially the case, right, they send a Prowler in. They're going to try and push Surf off this angle, which is not going to be easy. He is quite crazy, and he will hold things quite often, and he actually ends up almost dying here. He gets a bit lucky in terms of his survival there, but he does manage to get away. But now that they've pushed him back off that angle, and that kind of question mark has been created down here, right, where Xerxia don't really know, so that means that they have to leave a couple players here. But eventually they are going to figure this out. You know, they send the Sky Flash out here, it doesn't see anything, so they figure it out after this KO knife comes on that they are going to come in towards B. Now, what we've just seen there is we've got this Omen Smoke on the top here, you got Raise Nade back here, and we're about to get a Fade Ult in down there, but actually isn't going to catch Scary. But this is something that I think we've seen a couple times, where obviously players have white noise in their ears going in, so you know they can't hear the opponent's comms or anything like that. So, you know, and that has caused some issues, I think, with players where, you know, they haven't heard things that maybe you might expect them to. And this is going to be one of those instances as well, where we're going to see that Cider, after this Fade Ult comes in, Surf actually does manage to find the first kill on Zipan as he's just trying to get into the B site there. Fade Ult comes in, he jumps down, but you see Scary actually doesn't get caught by the Fade Ult at all. Breach Ult comes in from Xerxia as well, but these two are literally back to back, right? They are literally standing right next to each other, and if either of them turned at any point, the other one would be dead, right? Just standing next to each other. It's absolutely insane, right? And and it's absolutely crazy. And so in comes the Breach Ult. Scary actually starts to push with the Breach Ult, but they don't know that Cider's here, right? So Cruz dies to Cider there. Cider gets a second, and then he's going to manage to get the third as well. Really well played by him. Eventually, Sushi Boys does get him. We end up in this 2v2. And now everything pauses for a second, right? And time has passed, right? And so Xerxia think maybe they've gone to a different site, but they do stick to A. They get the spike down. KO nade comes in. We end up in this 2v2, right? Sushi Boys is going to start flanking, but he's actually going to get hit by this chamber trap just there, so he's going to have to shoot it. So that kind of gives away where he is. We're going to get a bit of a panic fight here between two Vandal sprays there, but Sushi Boys does manage to win it. Artist in a 1v2, and he's going to manage to find Sushi Boys there, and I don't know, but again, Artist doesn't know where Foxy is, but he said in the interview after that Xiao heard Foxy, right? He must have heard him, because Xiao apparently was screaming, he's on your right, he's on your right. And Artist, you're going to see, is just going to quickly flick to his right and manage to find this last kill, right? So right there, where, you know, just for whatever reason, Xiao managed to hear him. He gives that call out, and Artist manages to win the 1v2. Very, very well played by him there at the end. And yeah, FPX managed to win an insanely close game. But for me right now, Valorant is just in such a great space that almost all of these games are so competitive and so close, and it's between all these different regions and all these different seeds, and no one really could have expected that would be the case, but it's just really great, and I just love that everything seems so close. You have no idea who's going to win any game at all.